Okay, it has now been confirmed that climate denial is going to be the official position of the Donald administration. There are a few issues that are bigger than climate change currently facing not only Americans, but the world. It's an environmental issue, it's a national security issue, it's an economic issue, it's a health issue. We knew it wasn't looking great for the Donald administration when we found out he was going to put climate science denier Myron Ebel in charge of the EPA transition. That was bad enough, but it's gotten even worse, if you can imagine that. Incoming White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus said on Fox News that the default position, the main position, the primary position of the Donald administration on humans causing climate change will be that it is mostly bogus. Here's a quote from Reince Priebus on Fox News Sunday. Number 2, as far as this issue on climate change, the only thing he was saying after being asked a few questions about it is, look, he'll have an open mind about it, but he has his default position, which most of it is a bunch of bunk. But he'll have an open mind and listen to people. I think that's what he's saying. You can't really have an open mind on climate science if your default position is that, in spite of 98% of scientists agreeing on what the position is, taking the position that those 98% of scientists are wrong. That's not exactly the definition of an open mind, Pat, which shouldn't really confuse us, because the definition of a blind trust, according to Donald Trump, clearly is not a blind trust at all. And we know that scientists are as confident as humans that the primary cause of climate change is human activities on Earth. They're as sure of the impact that humans are having on climate as we are about the impact that smoking cigarettes has on health. How would we react, Pat, if someone was a smoking science denier?
And Donald Trump has talked a lot about deregulating the EPA too. And I mean, the issue here is that a lot of these things are time sensitive. I mean, we've gone on a course that we can't really reverse when it comes to climate change. And 4 to 8 years down the road, we certainly won't be able to.
No doubt about it. This is not the type of thing where we should be playing politics with. And that's exactly what it is when you choose to take the 2% or the 1% or the 0.3% opinion and make it, as Reince Priebus said, the default position of your administration. It's ironic in some way that while Trump slams China for everything, including stuff that they're not doing, that China could actually be one of the most important forces in fighting climate change. Trump wants to go to war with them, economic war, trade war, as we've talked about. And the damage may be more, as Pat is talking about, not only to the future of the U.S., but also to the credibility of the U.S. during the next 4 or 8 years, because this is the consensus, period. And to think that you have an incoming administration in the United States, you are the supposed leader of the free world, although increasingly the consensus is it's not going to be Trump, it's going to be Angela Merkel, the German chancellor, once Trump is sworn in, taking the position that my default is with the 0.3% of climate scientists. Sort of an odd position to take as your default position on this issue. And it's an absolute and utter disaster. This is not one of those areas where there is overlap between the Bernie Sanders position and the Donald Trump position, and progressives have their work cut out for them for the next 4 or 8 years to stop essentially a science-denying madman on the loose deregulating in a way that will irreversibly damage the only planet we currently have. Let's take a break. Join the discussion on Reddit at davidpakman.com/REDDIT. Gamefly is sort of like Netflix for video games. They have over 8,000 new and classic games for Xbox One, Xbox 360, PS4, PS3, Wii, and a bunch of other platforms. And you can play as many games as you want for one monthly fee. And if you find some games you want to keep, you can buy them for a low used price. There's never any due dates or late fees, and our audience can get a free 30-day trial at gameflyoffer.com/TDPS. The games are shipped directly to you with return envelopes included. There's no contracts, and you can rent games through the mobile app. Get the free 30-day trial for the David Pakman Show audience and support our show by going to gameflyoffer.com/TDPS.